Okay, guys, this week in our story, Two Bad Ants, we're going to be reviewing story elements. Now, I say review because this is a comprehension strategy we've looked at before this year. We've already learned it, but we're going to review it just to make sure that we all are clear on what the story elements are. We can identify the different story elements as we read. Being able to do those things will help us understand the stories better. So, I'm going to start out by letting you watch a Powtoon video created to review the story elements. After watching the video, we're going to look at how we're going to complete a story map today. Our story map is just a graphic organizer that helps us to identify these important story elements in a story. And after trying one together, you guys are going to get to do one on your own. So, we are going to go ahead and watch the review, and then we'll look at how we work on a story map.
In all fiction books, there are story elements. Story elements help us to understand what we are reading. We're going to learn about 5 different story elements. Let's call these our story elements 5. As in our hand, 5 fingers, 5 elements. Each finger will stand for a different story element. 5 of them. Number 1, the thumb will stand for the characters. There's main characters and supporting characters. There can be more than one. These characters are the people in the story. They can be animals, people, or even things. A man, a turkey, a boy, a girl, or a ghost. Number 2, the index finger will be the setting. The setting is when and where the story takes place. There can be more than one setting in a story, such as outside, inside, the store, the airplane, summer. Number 3, the next finger will represent the events in the story. The beginning, the middle, and the end. Events from the beginning, events from the middle, and events from the end of the story. Our ring finger will be the problem in the story. The problem is when something goes wrong in the story. There can be more than one problem in a story. It can be a big problem or a small problem. And number 5, the pinky finger will be for the solution. The solution is how the problem is fixed or solved in the story. Remember the story element 5, characters, setting, events, beginning, middle, end, problem, and solution.
Alright, so we just looked at the video to help us remember what those important story elements are. Just for one more quick review, characters are who the story is about. Like in the video, it said that it could be about people or animals, even creatures. Okay, so for our purposes today, as we identify characters, we want to be thinking about the main characters, who the story is mostly about. The setting is where and when the story takes place. Okay, is it at school during the summer, at the beach during a storm, on an airplane at night? Remember that setting's not just the location, it's not just the where, but it also is the when. When is the story taking place? Okay, problem. That problem is what the characters want to fix or change. Like a boy not knowing anybody and feeling lonely, that would be a problem. It would be something he would want to fix throughout the story. Or down here at the bottom, this is my favorite example, a kite Or a dog being tangled in the kite strings. That's a problem for the character. That would be something that he wants to fix or change. Throughout the story, you're going to see the characters work through some sort of solution. They're going to find a way to solve their problem. The solution's how the problem gets solved. For example, the boy making a friend at school would solve his problem of being lonely. The dog's owner coming and helping him get untangled from the kite would be a solution to the dog's problem. So we will always see that there are problems throughout fictional stories, and the characters will always work through and find some sort of solution. Now in the video it said that we would always have a beginning, middle, and end. There would be events in a story. And that was right. We call those the sequence of events in the story, that beginning, middle, and end, the plot. Okay, remember that word. The plot describes the sequence of events in a story. All fictional type stories will have a clear sequence of events. They'll have some main event from the beginning of the story, a main event in the middle of the story, and we'll see a main events at the end that show how the story ends. So just for practice, we're going to practice reading a short story, and we're going to identify these important story elements. And we're going to take these elements from our story and plug them into what we call a story map. This is just a graphic organizer that helps us identify these important parts of the story and organize them in a way that can help us understand the story better. So the first step is to read the story. Raymond was the best fielder on the softball team. He just couldn't hit. One day, he bought a softball for $1 at a garage sale. As he was walking home, the softball said, "Do you like to play ball? Are you any good?" Raymond grabbed his bat and took the chatty ball to the backyard. He threw it up in the air and swung the bat, but he just couldn't hit the ball. "You need help," the ball observed. "Throw me up in the air and I'll move to the center of the bat. You just swing." Raymond tried it, and he hit the ball to the corner of the fence. He tried it again and again. Each time he hit the ball. At Friday's game, when Raymond was up, he tossed the chatty ball to the pitcher. The pitcher threw the ball, and Raymond swung hard. Crack! The ball sailed over the fence. Raymond had hit his first home run. So I'm just going to start out by underlining the important elements of the story. As I look back through, who are the characters? Okay, we know Raymond is a character. This story is about a boy named Raymond. And we also see that a second character comes into play. The chatty ball. He found a softball that apparently has some sort of magical powers and can talk. So Raymond and the chatty ball are the main characters from the story. So on my story map, I'm going to plug those in the box that says characters, who the story is about. Raymond and the chatty ball. Okay. Next, we're going to look for the problem. What was going on in the story? What was happening to Raymond that he wanted to fix or change? What was his problem? Oh, I'm sorry. First, we need to look at the setting. Now, oftentimes the characters are not going to come right out and say exactly when and where the story is taking place. A lot of times we have to look for clues that can help us make inferences about the setting. So as we read through, where are some clues that would help us know where and when the story is taking place? Right here it says that he bought a softball for $1 at a garage sale. A little bit further down, it says he took the ball home and into the backyard. Okay, and then at the end of the story, we see that he's at a softball game. It says at Friday's game. Okay, so again, like in the video, it explained that sometimes the setting changes throughout the story. So our setting, where and when the story is taking place, well, we're going to really think about what's the main setting in the story. Where is the most of the story taking place? And it was taking place in Raymond's yard. And we can infer that it was happening during the day. He wouldn't be outside trying to hit the baseball in the middle of the night. So even though the author didn't say this was happening during the day, we can make a smart guess it was, because he was outside hitting the softball. Now let's look for the problem. What did the character want to fix or change? If you look back at the very beginning of the story, it says that he was the best fielder on the team. He just couldn't hit. So if you play ball, you understand that you need to be good at fielding and at hitting the ball. So that was Raymond's problem. That's what he wanted to fix. He couldn't hit the ball. Okay, so that's his problem. How did he solve his problem? What was the solution? So as we read through the story, we see that he bought a softball for a quarter at a garage sale. And we've learned that the softball was a chatty softball, had magical powers. The softball could actually talk to him. The softball says, "You need help. Throw me up in the air and I'll move to the center of the bat." And when Raymond tried that, he hit the ball to the corner of the fence. It says he tried and tried again, and each time he hit the ball. So we see the solution to Raymond's problem is that he found, or he bought, I guess we should say, a magic ball at a garage sale that would move to the center of the bat. When he was trying to hit. Which we saw in the story solved his problem. When this magic ball would move to the center of the bat, then he was able to hit it. It fixed his problem. Okay. Now down here at the bottom, this sequence of events, if you remember back to our vocabulary, that's called the plot, the sequence of events. On your story map, you're going to think back to the story. What were the main events that happened in the beginning, the middle, and end of the story? You're going to kind of summarize those below to show the plot of the story, or the sequence of events. So in the beginning of the story, Raymond couldn't hit the ball. He bought a magic ball at a garage sale that would move to the center of the bat when he tried to hit it. And at the end of the story, Raymond used the magic ball at his game on Friday and hit his first home run. Okay, so as you think back to the story, do those events, are those the most important events in the plot? Okay, is that what happened at the beginning? Is this the most important event from the middle of the story? Does this event happen at the end? Is that our plot, our sequence of events? Okay, so you guys just worked through an example with me of how we can use our story map to identify important story elements. This is an important strategy for readers. If I take time to think about these elements, anytime I read a fiction or realistic fiction type story, it helps me understand the story better. So what I want you guys to do now is I want you to try to do a story map for our story of the week, Two Bad Ants, located on 175 of your textbooks. So you're going to get out your textbooks, read through the story, and locate or identify these important story elements. And as you do that, you need to be recording them on your story map. And when we're finished, we will look over our story maps and discuss those together.